Welcome, welcome, welcome to Queen's Lariat Podcast. I'm your host, AJ, and today we're going to discuss NXT. Now, for those of you who don't know, NXT is the developmental brand for WWE. NXT in the past have given us wonderful, great women superstars like Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, the Four Horsewomen, and of course, the wonderful international imports, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Sky. Now, today I'm going to go into why I think there is a women's revolution going on in NXT right now and how it's going to shape the future of WWE. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is NXT 2.0 because I think that's where this women's revolution had gotten its start. Now, if you don't know, NXT 2.0 was basically, let's say, a reshaping of the NXT Black and Gold, where in 2021, Vince McMahon essentially took creative control from Triple H, who was running the Black and Gold brand of NXT at the time, and basically changed it around so it was more emphasis on characters and storytelling as opposed to the in-ring work and storytelling we got with NXT Black and Gold. So NXT 2.0 gave us a pretty solid crop of women's wrestlers like Tiffany Stratton, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, and Lyra Valkyrie. We had Blair Davenport and other great women's wrestlers of the time. But I feel like NXT 2.0 really shaped what the women's division in NXT and also main roster WWE is today. So I'm going to start with talking about how a lot of the girls that were in NXT 2.0 were new to wrestling and how I think that they improved leaps and bounds today in NXT. So the one I really want to start with is Kalani Jordan. I feel like as someone who hasn't been wrestling that long, Kalani Jordan has really stepped up as a fantastic, not only in-ring, but I think her character is really starting to come along as well. She's one of my favorites down in there in NXT right now. And in a world where there's not really a lot of like pure meat baby faces, I think Kalani Jordan does a great job at being pure meat baby face. Also, I want to talk about Sol Ruka. Now, Sol Ruka is one of the most exciting wrestlers, bar none, male or female, in wrestling today. If you have not seen her wrestle, you should. Her finisher, Soul Snatcher, is one of the most unique and amazing finishers today in wrestling. And like I said, she's a girl that didn't come from a wrestling background, but came from a gymnastic background. And she just fits, I think, out of all the gymnasts that came into the PC, I think she is the best out of them. Now, her like technical skills is not like super good, but she's getting there. I've noticed that she's been including a lot of like technical moves into her move set recently too. But I think Sol Ruka is going to be a huge star on the main roster if booked correctly. Next girlies I want to talk about is Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. Starting off in the PC, I remember watching NXT 2.0 where you had Lash Legend in the ring with Joshi Great Sarai, and she was really struggling at the time. But I think Lash Legend over the years, the last couple years, has improved leaps and bounds in the ring for NXT. Now, I don't know what the future holds for Lash and Jakara, and I do acknowledge that I think Jakara still has a lot of work to do. But if WWE brings those two up as a tag team, I think they will be a solid piece in that tag team division. All right. So the next girly I want to talk about in like these performance center girlies is Tatum Paxley. I think Tatum Paxley is one of the better character workers in WWE NXT right now. Because I think her, this crazy girl stalker gimmick she had, especially with Lyra, was one of my favorite like storylines of last year. Um, I think Tatum has really come along in the ring as well. And I'm very excited to see what she does in the future. We'll see if she gets called up during this transfer window or if they keep her in NXT and keep growing her. Maybe put her in that Women's North American title scene, but we'll see. But anyways, moving on from and also there's more PC girlies that I think really improved and stepped up, like Jada Parker and Lola Vice too, which I think they have a big future ahead of them. But I want to move on to somebody that I haven't brought up yet, and that's, I think, someone who's been the face of the women's division since NXT 2.0, and that's the current NXT Women's Champion, the prodigy, Roxanne Perez. Now, Roxanne started in WWE when we had NXT 2.0. And she was one of the only girlies there that actually had, in-ring experience, wrestling experience. We all know that she was the Ring of Honor Women's Champion before she got to NXT. But I think Roxanne Perez has been a solid leader in NXT since 2.0. And she's just one of the best in-ring workers, I think, in WWE in that women's division. She is so solid. She's put on terrific matches with people, whether it's, the PC girlies or whether it's the girlies, that have experience. But like I said, I just wanted to touch on Roxanne Perez and why I think she's such a big part of this new NXT women's revolution. Now, I want to talk about the new international imports. Julia, who is one of my favorite wrestlers right now. She's probably top 2. I would say my 2 favorite wrestlers, 1A and 1B, is Julia and Asuka. Now, her, and then also I want to talk about Stephanie Vacourt and Zaria. Now, this started probably, I would say, a little over a year ago, where there were rumors. Of course, rumors on the internet, can't fully trust them, but it's always exciting hearing about a big name coming to WWE as a WWE fan. And I remember the moment where I heard WWE might sign Julia, and I almost fell to my knees hearing that, because I know how good and great of a talent Julia is. I've been watching her since she was in Stardom, and Julia just has that it factor. She has that factor of what you want in a wrestling star. She's very capable, very good in the ring. She has an aura that bigger than it can rival so many people in wrestling right now. She has tons and tons of charisma, and she just has that passion and drive to be a wrestler. Like, she is just so awesome. Also, she has a very cool look about her. Like I said, Julia is one of my favorite wrestlers. She's one of them I want to talk about right now. And then we have Stephanie Vacourt, the luchadoress that came from CMLL. Also, she did matches in Stardom as well. Stephanie Vacourt is a very, very, very good in-ring worker. And it's just something about her that oozes coolness. Whether it's her deadpan look she always has, or whether it's just like some of the cool moves she does in ring. I think Stephanie Vacourt is really, really going to corner that Latin market that WWE always tries to, you know, work into the fold. All right, the next one I want to talk about is Zaria. Okay, Zaria was a one of the international darlings from Australia. In Australia, she went by the name Delta. Now, I will say this, I didn't see much of her when she was in Australia, but from the videos and YouTube clips and highlights saw of her, she has a really good potential of becoming that real dominant powerhouse wrestler in the women's division. And she's actually got a pretty unique moveset too. But I'm looking forward to seeing her, whether it be as a monster heel or just as a new up and coming babyface. But, you know, Zaria, she's one that I got my eye on as well. Now, if you didn't know, for the past several months, well, basically around the time that Julia debuted, the NXT women have been carrying that brand, constantly garnishing the highest ratings on NXT for their segments. I think like a couple weeks ago when Julia's shirt first came out, she had the #1 women's shirt in the company for that weekend when it debuted. So I feel like the women have been really carrying NXT, especially with the issues they've been having with their men. Like, I feel like the women have really stepped up and are really, really carrying the brand right now. And that's partly to do with the booking they're receiving, and is more partly to do with the talent. Like I said, it's just so many phenomenal wrestlers, so stacked in NXT. And I just know they're going to have a wonderful future there too. It's going to keep growing. With, if you haven't been paying attention to the WWE ID signings, like I know they signed Kylie Ray, and they also signed Zeta Steel too to WWE ID deals. And I expect both of them to be in the Performance Center and on NXT in 2025. But you also have rumors of like a Jordan Grace signing with WWE. So I don't know if they're going to put her in NXT or put her straight on to the main roster. But it's just exciting right now with NXT in the women's division. Like, the future is so bright. It's like you have not only one or two women in NXT that can be like the face of the division. You have a lot of them, whether it's, like I said, Julia, Stephanie Vakor, or Zaria, or whether it's Kalani Jordan, Sol Ruka, Jada Parker, Lola Vice. There are just so many women with ceilings so high in NXT. And as a fan of women's wrestling, it's awesome to see. My only concern is that when these girls go up to the main roster, I hope their booking is consistent. Not even like to where it was in NXT, but just consistent enough that these girls have the time and the opportunity to show how good they really are. But we will see when that happens. But for right now, I'm really looking towards great feuds and great matches. I'm really looking towards New Year's Evil and that match between Julia and Roxanne. Hope it's I'm not going to say who I think is going to win or who should win, but I'm just saying I'm just hoping for a fantastic match. To be honest, I think they should main event it, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's just some of my thoughts on NXT right now, the black and silver brand, and why I think that is a new women's revolution going on, and how also I think it can really impact the future of the women's division in WWE, because like it or not, a lot of the, you know, horsewomen and a lot of the women from the Mae Young Classic, they're not going to be around forever, whether they decide to go to new companies, or they're just getting up there in age. I think we have a really solid foundation in NXT to kind of take over the mantle for those girls. So I'm really looking forward to the future in WWE. Now, one more thing before I close out this episode. Saturday was Saturday night's main event for WWE. And one thing I want to say is a big congratulations to Chelsea Green for being the inaugural Women's United States Champion. In my previous episode, I discussed how she was one of my wrestlers of the year. And I feel like she's really earned that opportunity to be the first Women's United States Champion with the work she's put in, not only in the ring, but outside the ring. So congratulations to her. Also, congratulations to Mia Yim. I think she's had a fantastic year, and I think we'll see her eventually with that Women's United States title as well. So congratulations to her. And we have a big week. Well, not big week, but it's going to be a pretty big January for women's wrestling coming up, for me anyways, because you have First Dream in January from Marigold. We also have Dream Queendom from Stardom. We have the like I said, New Year's Evil, and we have the Netflix debut of Monday Night Raw, where, if rumors are to be believed, that's where we're going to crown our first women's Intercontinental champion. So it's going to be a pretty big week for me, anyways, for my viewing of women's wrestling in January. But thank you for listening to Queen's Lariats Radio. You can find me on Blue Sky and Twitter. Also, you can listen to the podcast on Spotify and on YouTube. Thank you for listening. I'm out.